but it was rotten eggs. It was rotten eggs, and plastics do not deteriorate in the manner in which real eggs deteriorate. You have the smell, the characteristics of rotten eggs. So that is what we have so far.
I don't know why people put certain things on social media and how they do it. For some of them that we have watched, you can tell that it is clearly not as it seems. I've not watched every single video, so I cannot attest to whether they are fabricated or not. But what I can tell is that there is currently no plastic rice on the market. We are monitoring the situation. We are doing it with the international community. We are members of InfoSan, as I said, and we are constantly in communication with them. And if it becomes available, we will let the Ghanaian community know about it. We also would rely on the general public. And internationally and in developed countries, that is what happens. The public is empowered properly to be able to report some of these things to the regulator. It happens everywhere in the world. And they are empowered and they are educated to know products that are registered and products that are not. And somebody asked about registered products. And I told you that we have a website. And it is good for the public to know this and to visit the website and to know that if there's a product that you see on the market that is suspicious, you report to the regulator.
So we're staying on this particular story a while longer because you would recall that on social media, a number of videos had gone viral, and TV3's reporter Solis Rose Quote hit the streets, went to some markets and spoke to the women about the existence of this plastic rice on the Ghanaian market. Let's find out what they had to say.
The rumors of alleged plastic rice spread like wildfire when this video started circulating on social media barely a week ago.
I bought a tennis ball. I ate a rubber rice. Oh my God. And it's even bouncing.
The video sparked speculations of a possible existence and even influx of plastic rice onto the Ghanaian market.
It's probably one of the most consumed foods in this country, and we're talking about rice. And we know Ghanaians cannot do without their wache, their emutuo, and of course the favorite Ghana jollof. So it does come as a source of worry, the trending video regarding the purported plastic rice. TV3 decided to hit the streets, come to the Makola market to find out from the horse's own mouth, that is the rice vendors themselves, as to whether or not there is plastic rice in the system.
The latest Oxford Business School report has revealed that Ghana imports about 680,000 tons of rice annually. Thousands of bags of rice leave this hub at Makola number 2 every day. A wholesale distributor, Madam Redu, says in spite of the rumors circulating, her business has not been affected.
For me, per se, I've not seen or heard anything about it, and nobody has complained to me.
Another vendor anonymously took TV3 through some of the measures they employ to ensure they serve customers with only the best grade of products.
Before they give us rice to sell, they give us sample, we take it to the house and cook. The rice, most of the time, they put the Food and Drugs Authority stamp on it. They should be looking for those things, and they should look for the origin of the rice.
A vendor who also wanted to remain anonymous and only gave his name as Alhaji expressed concern about how easy it is to manipulate people on social media.
There is a lot of rumors and it is affecting our business, honestly. Social media is destroying us. Any rumors come, you see somebody in social media, people will believe it. People can make a video, Photoshop, and they can put my face and your face on it, and it's a serious issue, honestly.
In December 2016, the Food and Drugs Authority, FDA, downplayed similar reports of an influx of fake rice purported to be plastic rice on the Ghanaian market.
Let's shift our attention to labor-related issues now. The Industrial and Commercial Workers Union, ICU, has pleaded with the President, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, to reverse the dismissal letter signed by the Executive Secretary to the President, Nana Asante Bedie, to the Executive Secretary of the Executive Secretary of the National Labour Commission, who has been told to go, has been dismissed. The information we also have is that our colleague Ofosu Asamoah has been appointed as the new Executive Secretary of the National Labour Commission.
2012, the Human Resource Manager of the Labour Commission, Dr. Bernice Welbeck was appointed to act as Executive Secretary of the Labour Commission. Dr. Welbeck acted for close to 3 years and even attended an interview at the Public Services Commission for her confirmation. However, she was removed from office in 2015 and Charles Bawadua was appointed as the new Executive Secretary. Then, the ICU General Secretary Solomon Kotei raised concerns about her removal but yielded no results. Charles Bawadua, who is the current Executive Secretary, has also been removed from office, while Ofosu Asamoah has been appointed as the new Executive Secretary of the Commission. Again, the ICU is worried that Charles Bawadua, having gone through the Public Service Commission interview, has also lost his position.
All those who have come through, the current chairman of the National Labour Commission, who was the Executive Secretary, came through the same process. So I'm wondering why this has happened. And calls are coming from all over. And I believe very soon, other organized labor, will get to the street and challenge some of these things.
The General Secretary urged government to ensure peace at the labor front.
We think prayerfully, if the presidency is listening to us, they should be able to reverse these things and get the appropriate thing done. Because more so, the letter that is before us, we are seeing even that the current Executive Secretary in the person of Mr. Bawadua is not even in copy. So you are in office and then somebody comes and say, I've been asked to take over your office, so give me way.
All right, so the image behind me tells you what our next story is, and that has to do with yesterday's Supreme Court ruling. Now, the Supreme Court of the land has declared as unconstitutional former President John Dramani Mahama's decision to host 2 former Guantanamo Bay detainees in Ghana. The Apex Court of the land has ordered government to, within the next 3 months, send the agreement to Parliament for ratification or have the 2 detainees sent back to the United States.
Reading the judgment, Chief Justice Sufaya Kufu said the then President John Mahama needed the 2/3 majority approval of Parliament before entering into any international agreement, just as in the case of the 2 detainees. The decision was approved by 6 justices, with Justice William Atuguba dissenting. The 2 detainees, Mahmoud Umar Mohamed bin Atef and Khalid Mohamed Salih Al-Dubi, were in detention at the Guantanamo Bay prison for 14 years after being linked with terrorist group Al-Qaeda, but were transferred to Ghana in January 2016 for a period, after which they were expected to be reintegrated in their home countries. 2 Guineans, Margaret Banfo and Henry Nanabuachi, sued the Attorney General and Minister of Justice together with the Minister of Interior, accusing then President John Mahama of illegally bringing in the 2 former Gitmo detainees without recourse to the laws of the land. The plaintiffs were seeking, among other reliefs, a declaration that, on a true and proper interpretation of Article 75 of the 1992 Constitution of Ghana, the President of the Republic of Ghana acted unconstitutionally by agreeing to the transfer of Mahmoud Umar Mohamed bin Atef and Khalid Mohamed Salih Al-Dubi. Nana J. Bafewa is lawyer for the 2 plaintiffs.
Democracies are not built overnight. It takes true errors on the part of human beings who are involved in the helms of affairs. Obviously, we are all fallible. And when these fallibilities do arise, there is the need for us to go to the people in whom the judicial power has been vested in to make a pronouncement on them, so that going forward there will be clear guidelines as to how we conduct the affairs of the state.
Meanwhile, one of the plaintiffs, 87-year-old Margaret Banfo, says she initiated the legal action for the sake of the future generation.
And I'm very, very happy we have come to and vindicated. And for the sake of everybody who is young, that's why I stood up for this case to be judged.
All right, in a related development, private legal practitioner Justice Sirem Sai has advised government to resort to the diplomacy in the ruling of the Supreme Court on the Gitmo 2. We'll bring you what exactly the man said, or the former lawyer said. But you would also know that government has released a statement with regard to yesterday's case, which has to do with the, and I'm going to read portions of the statement from government, which says that government has taken notice of the judgment of the Supreme Court delivered on Thursday. In the judgment, the Apex Court, presided over by the new Chief Justice, has ordered them to send the issue to Parliament for ratification. Consequently, the court has instructed the agreement to be given to Parliament for approval within 3 months, or they might be deported. Government is going to take pragmatic steps to prompt the consequent orders, and says that the detainees have been of good behavior since being in the country. This is what the laws of the land say, and that it is on this that the Supreme Court gave its judgment. Article 75 of the Constitution, the 1992 Constitution, says the President may execute or cause to be executed treaties, agreements, or conventions in the name of Ghana. And it goes on to say that a treaty, agreement, or convention executed by or under the authority of the President shall be subject to ratification by A, an act of Parliament, or B, a resolution of Parliament supported by the votes of not more than half of the members of Parliament. And the watchwords here are ratification. And then also that's what the court is saying. And as you know, it is an agreement between the government of Ghana and the government of the United States. So that's what the Constitution says. Now let's look at what the court order was. It says that within 3 months, the government should go to Parliament for ratification of the agreement between Ghana and the U.S. over these two gentlemen, the Gitmo detainees. Failure to undertake the above within the stipulated time of the 3 months would mean deportation of the Gitmo too. So we would see what the reaction from government will be. Already they've released a statement saying that the two gentlemen have been of good behavior, quote unquote, and that is what their statement is saying. Although they have been good, they will still go through with what the court has ordered. They will be sending the order to Parliament, the agreement to Parliament for ratification. Let's go to what the private legal practitioner has said. Now, that Justice Shremsai has said that government should have gone through the right process with regard to the Gitmo 2. He says if care is not taken, Ghana could be embroiled in a diplomatic row with the United States of America and Yemen, where the detainees are originally from.
International law is largely diplomatic. It's our diplomacy, not necessarily the hard laws. So I believe that with more diplomacy between these three countries, that's the United States, the Republic of Ghana, and Yemen, this could be resolved. However, when you look back into the domestic law, I think we need to be clear on one thing as a country. What type of agreements do we need to take to Parliament for approval? You know, it is impracticable to suggest that any form of agreement should be placed before Parliament for approval. It will make the system unworkable. Great. So therefore, if the previous decisions of the court have indicated that we need to select, I mean, it's not every agreement that should go before Parliament for approval. But I think we must go beyond the as and when way of handling this issue by at least creating or setting out a certain criteria for which we will know for determining which particular issues should go before Parliament for approval, and those that are supposed to be done by the executive.
So that's Justice Shremsai, a law lecturer and a private legal practitioner, speaking to News 360's anchor Alfred Okansi. So the debate is currently ongoing. As of yesterday, after the ruling, social media was rife with lots of opinions on this. The question some are asking is, was it that the former administration lost sight of what was clearly stated in the Constitution, or they just deliberately, put it aside and took their own decision? Would want to refresh your memory with what exactly former President John Dramani Mahama said with regard to the Gitmo 2 when the news broke and when the country started reacting to it. Let's take you down memory lane.
Much in the same vein, my administration's decision to permit entry to 2 former Guantanamo Bay detainees, as well as some refugees from Rwanda, Syria, have been met with fierce resistance. I realize that our world is going through uncertain times. I realize, too, that no nation wants to open its door to terrorism. Still, we cannot let the fear of what might be cloud our compassion to make us turn a blind eye to the very real need that exists in our today's world. There are people who no longer have a country to call home, people who have been cleared of charges of all alleged crimes, and people whose only crime is being born in a country whose name is now automatically associated with a group of insurgents terrorizing their fellow countrymen and women. My brothers and sisters, Ghana has had a long history of humanitarianism. We've had a long history of being counted as a leader, not only on the African continent, but also in the entire international community.
All right, so we are staying on this particular story or subject a while longer. You would recall that the release of the Gitmo 2 by the United States and its acceptance by the former government led by the initiative of former President John Dramani Mahama got into its way due to political issues, and said that the president had to take that decision on behalf of the state. So, then candidate of the New Patriotic Party, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, also had this to say. You would recall when it came up, people said Nana Addo was not in the know, or the opposition leader was not in the know. But the U.S. government said that they had spoken to the then opposition leader, Nana Akufo-Addo, of the New Patriotic Party. So this is also a recall from time past.
The problem we face is yet another case of the failure of leadership by the President of the Republic, and a sad example of his belief that he's answerable to no one, not even to the laws of the Republic, like Section 35 of the Anti-Terrorism Act, Act 762, which as President he is sworn to uphold. That law prohibits the transaction into which he has entered with the United States government. Lawlessness at the highest levels of the state cannot produce good governance. Since he claims that only Presidents Rawlings and Kufuor have the right to criticize him, I would have wished that he had found it worthy to consult both of our two former national leaders before he took this grave decision that has consequences for us all. If he had done so, the Ghanaian people may have well been spared the disquieting anxiety in this time of justifiably heightened fear of global terrorism, that we are being led by a president who, ostensibly in the name of compassion, prefers to ignore laws designed to defend the most sensitive area of all, our nation's security.
That is former, I beg your pardon, the President of the Republic as it is now, and that is also the leader of the New Patriotic Party's presidential candidate, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. And so that debate was rife, it was hot, it was on social media, every media house discussed it, including TV3, and we're leading the debate. You would also recall that in January this year, the then Minister in charge of Defense, the ministerial nominee in charge of Defense, Dominic Nitiwul, told Parliament Appointment Committee that the government will evaluate intelligence before taking a decision on the Guantanamo detainees who were relocated to Ghana. So I would want to bring you what exactly Dominic Nitiwul said when he met the Appointment Committee.
As making reference to the fact that the government of Ghana accepted to be host to 3 Guantanamo detainees. Now, at the time, the president, who was flag bearer of your party, said it was improper. As the defense minister, and his basis was that it could open us up to external attacks. As a minister, designate, when or if you are sworn into office, will you advise, especially given the concern civil society raised at the time, that the 3 detainees from Guantanamo Bay be returned to the United States of America?
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. I'm a bit constrained to answer that question because, one, the matter is in court, but I'll give you a skeletal answer to that particular question. Mr. Chairman, first of all, Ghana is a very peaceful country, and we all know that. We've had problems across the rest of West Africa, even the countries around us, and that is a fact. It's an open fact. And it is true that the men and women of the Ghana Armed Forces have to protect us by sea, by air, and then by land, and from external aggressors, also from internal aggressors, insurgency or anything. They are supposed to do that. And I believe that everybody knows that for some time now, Ghana has been very, very peaceful. So if you have a very peaceful country, what many people will not want to do is to invite trouble to themselves. And that's why I still think that at the time that His Excellency, the President, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, made that statement, he made it in the light that there was no need to invite trouble for us, to put our map on the terrorist map at that particular period when Ghana didn't need to do that at that particular time. But look, we've done 1 year now. Intelligence will change. The situation will change. As we sit today, the government at that time analyzed the intelligence and took a decision. It's the same way this government is going to analyze all the intelligence related to these particular people and take a decision. As I sit now, I'm not seized with that intelligence to be able to tell you which way I will advise the president or not advise the president. But intelligence will lead us as to the best way the government will take a decision regarding this particular thing. In any case, it's not in the interest of anybody to sit on open camera and TV cameras to talk about issues to do with terrorism and the steps you take and the advice that you will give. So that's where I was.
That is the current Defense Minister, Dominic Nitiwu. So we'll actually bring you a few more bites from time past with regard to this Gitmo 2. But what we have now is, in February 2016, the former head of public affairs of the United States Embassy, Daniel Fennell, told TV3's Komla Kluche he will not confirm whether or not there are any legal documents covering the transfer of the 2 detainees into the country. And now that government, the court is saying that they should take the issue to Parliament, what documents are going to be sent? Since the United States rep in Ghana said that he cannot confirm or deny whether there are any documentations. Let's watch what he said.
This is, in fact, a policy imperative. They're interested in moving forward to do what's best for the world. And we applaud and we praise the Ghanaian government for doing so.
Can we look at the document in terms of the agreement? I'm sure this is not just a verbal agreement. There are legal documents, the paperwork. Can we look at the paperwork and do a review of it for transparency's sake?
I'm not sure there is a document to review that's public, but the arrangements of what will happen to the former detainees, I'm sure that the host government will be able to disclose those things.
There you have it. We're staying on it a while longer. Media reports across the globe on the release of some of the detainees from Guantanamo Bay in 2016 were diverse. U.S. media house Fox News, known to be biased towards the Republican ideologies, put up a publication that suggested that Ghana, which was one of the first to receive the inmates, at that time we are taking 2 of the Gitmo detainees, was not adequately informed about the background of the 2 detainees. This report and subsequent discussions on Fox News got the Ghanaian public agitated and worried, and that resulted in legal procedures that, you would know, as of yesterday, got the Supreme Court to say that the issue should be sent to Parliament. So here's a flashback.
Wave of Gitmo transfers of the new year, setting free 2 dangerous detainees. Garrett Tenney is live for us in Washington, D.C. with a look at who they are and where exactly they're going. Hi, Garrett.
Good morning, Heather and Heather. The Secretary of Defense believes these 2 inmates are no longer a threat to the United States, but the U.S. has been wrong before. Several previous detainees have rejoined terrorist groups after their release. So here's a look at these 2 most recent releases. Mahmoud Umar Muhammad bin Atif is an admitted member of the Taliban who fought with fought for Osama bin Laden. The Pentagon earlier determined he was a high risk to the U.S. and American interest, and that's no surprise considering WikiLeaks dockets on him from 2007 indicate that at the time he had threatened to kill U.S. citizens on multiple occasions, including a specific threat to cut their throats upon his release. The second inmate, Khalid Muhammad Salih al-Dubi, trained with al-Qaeda in Afghanistan. The Pentagon previously determined he posed a medium risk if released, but now it's standing behind these releases.
I can assure you that the Secretary of Defense weighs these decisions very, very carefully.
After 14 years at Guantanamo, both men are headed to the West African nation of Ghana and will be able to leave that country after 2 years. They are just the first of 17 detainees that are expected to be transferred out of Guantanamo Bay.
All right, so that's how Fox News, which is based in the United States, discussed the issue. And the U.S. government in Ghana, or the U.S. ambassador to Ghana, Porter Jackson, has denied that 63 Ghanaians who were deported from the United States were maltreated. He says that though these Ghanaians involved attempted resisting deportation, they were treated humanely.
The 63 Ghanaians who were recently deported from the United States were reportedly handcuffed and maltreated as they emplaned to Ghana. But the U.S. ambassador, who met with the Foreign Affairs Committee of Parliament Thursday, denied.
The 63 who returned recently returned on a chartered aircraft because they had refused to board a civilian aircraft and return voluntarily. So they were involuntarily returned. I do not consider the conditions in which they were returned inhumane. They were fed, they had some freedom of movement on the flight. It was restricted for the safety of everyone on board, but it's not as if they were chained to their seats.
He also confirmed about 7,000 Ghanaians who are staying in the U.S. illegally and how overstayed their visas are being processed to be deported. Meanwhile, the Foreign Affairs Minister Shirley Ayokoboche condemned the act, adding her outfit was yet to meet the U.S. Embassy on the matter.
That is unacceptable, and we are going to get in touch with the American authorities, the embassy here, for them to give an explanation and express our concern that this is not right, it is inhumane, it shouldn't happen, it goes against the basic human rights of the people. They may be illegal immigrants, they may even be convicted criminals, but they have served their sentences, especially those who have been convicted of some kind of offense. They have finished their sentence, and therefore they shouldn't be treated in such a way.
The U.S. Embassy has also indicated that ministers of state and members of parliament and other personalities applying for visas who have to do so personally. The sector minister also promised to seek clarifications from the embassy.
Let me understand what that directive means. Once I understand it and what it entails, then I can speak properly to it. All I saw on that paper was that a protocol officer will not be allowed to accompany. That's all I saw.
Okay, so that has opened a new barrage of discussions on Ghana-US relations and why the ambassador to Ghana is saying that our current members of parliament and old and former ones, and then also people of the executive and the judiciary would have to apply themselves if they want visas from the United States government, and that they were not going to be allowing a protocol officer or anybody to be the lead person to apply for them. They have to be there themselves. That has not been the norm. Let's speak to David Agbe. He's the Executive Director for the Ghana Institute of Governance and Security. Good afternoon, sir. Thank you very much for joining us. Hello, Mr. Agbe. Hello, Mr. Agbe. We seem to be having some challenges with David Agbe's line. He's the Executive Director for the Ghana Institute of Governance and Security. Yes, I can hear you now. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us.
Yes, Martin, I can hear you.
Great. What do you make of the United States' new directive, especially to our members of Parliament? Hello, Mr. Agbe, can you hear me? We seem to be having a technical challenge. Can you hear me, sir? No, he cannot hear me. So I would rework the line and establish contact with Mr. Agbe. Then we'll pick his thoughts on it. But a lot of issues have been discussed. Today, the bulletin seemed to be slightly heavy towards, international relations, Ghana, U.S. especially. I would want to hear from you as well what your thoughts are on our various social media platforms. My personal handle is @NewsyMartin on Twitter. Mr. Agbe, good afternoon if you can hear me. No, we cannot hear him. And then also, the comments that have been coming in so far seem to be heavily skewed towards the fact that government should take action with regard to the ruling given by the Supreme Court. So we'll see how government reacts. Already, they're saying that they will go to Parliament for the ratification as was ordered. Mind you, the United States said that they did not want the Gitmo detainees, any of them at all, on their land. That is why the U.S. distributed them across the world. And now a new directive has come from their office that our former members of Parliament and sitting ones and former presidents would have to apply for visas themselves. Mr. Agbe, good afternoon once again. Let's try if you can hear me now. Can you hear me, sir? Okay. Sorry about that. Technology not allowing us to establish contact with him. But when we do get him on the line, would let us know what implications there are with regard to the relationship between Ghana and the U.S. For such orders to be given. While we work the lines to get him, though, the Supreme Court has described as unconstitutional the admission process or procedure used by Ghana School of Law that requires applicants to take an entrance examination and subsequently be interviewed before getting admission into the school. The court further recommended a quota system to be put in place for accredited institutions across the country.
The unanimous decision upheld in part and dismissed in part the suit filed in October 2015 by US-based law professor Kweku Asare challenging the mode of admission of law students into the Ghana Law School. It also challenged the constitutionality of the General Legal Council's policy on reviewing examination scripts and quota admission system. Delivering the court's decision, Justice Gbadegbe ordered that the General Legal Council uses appropriate means to pass the required regulation for whatever admission process they intend to use. The court further recommended a quota system to be put in place for accredited institutions across the country. The Apex Court said the basic requirement stipulated by the law that regulates the establishment of the law school LI 1296 requires that an applicant to the school should have passed specific 7 subjects during the LLB program, be of good behavior, and hold an LLB degree to be admitted into the Ghana Law School. The writing of an entry exams and passing an interview are not part of the requirement in the LI 1296. The court, however, directed that the ongoing admission process for the 2017-2018 academic year is not affected by the decision of this court, but the General Legal Council is to commence implementation within 6 months. Professor Kwekwansa says he would challenge.
The court is asking those students to engage in what the court itself has declared as an unconstitutional act. And I was trying to explain to the court that I don't think it has the power to tell people to go and engage in unconstitutional acts. But I wasn't given the opportunity, and of course I understand why, because the judgment has been rendered, and what I was trying to avoid was to come back to court and tell them you can't do that. If the thing is unconstitutional, then it must not be done.
We stay with this particular subject because a former director of the Ghana Law School, Ansan Sari, has advised the plaintiff in the Ghana Law School case, which the Supreme Court ruled that the admission process into the school is unconstitutional, to go back to court to certain pronouncements that the court made to ascertain those. Reacting to the Supreme Court's ruling on Thursday, Mr. Ansar Sari identified certain portions of the judgment as unconstitutional. He spoke on News 360.
The Supreme Court, should have immediately made the definitive pronouncement that with immediate effect, the examinations, have been scrapped. Interviews have been scrapped, but not to say that because processes have already begun.
Absolutely.
Therefore, it should take effect from next year. That itself is unconstitutional.
Questions Professor Sari was not too happy about.
It is unconstitutional.
Because the Supreme Court says those 2017 students should
It is unconstitutional.
To write the
He
exam.
he has to go back to court. If the Supreme Court says that the whole system, the entire system, is contrary to the supreme law of the land in pursuance of Article 1, Clause 2 of the 1990 Constitution, so be it. That's the end of the...
It should not give any leeway for, because students within the 2017 batch have started a process, so they should be allowed to write a 2017
it's
exam.
wrong.
If it is illegal, it is illegal.
It is legal. With the greatest respect to their lordships, I think they've nodded a little.
This is still Midday Live on TV3. We'll be back with the latest in the world of business. Stay with us.
Hello, good afternoon and welcome to the very latest in business. The General Secretary of the Agric Workers Union, Edward Kariwe, wants policymakers to focus more on the outcome and yield from cocoa farmers rather than politicizing fertilizer distribution. He was reacting to the tussle between the minority and government on the sale of fertilizers to farmers at a subsidized price.
The Mahama government introduced the free distribution of fertilizer to farmers in order to boost cocoa production. But in a statement issued by the Public Affairs Department of Cocoa Board in May this year, the free distribution of fertilizer was scrapped and farmers are expected to pay subsidies on the commodity. This the minority disagrees. The General Secretary of the Ghana Agriculture Workers Union, Edward Kariwe, says subsidizing or free distribution of fertilizer makes little difference for cocoa farmers.
Not just about giving subsidies or free fertilizers. It's about monitoring and ensuring that the right thing is done. We should be looking at outcomes more when it comes to agricultural activity than emphasize more on policies. We have had very good policies in the past in this country, but we are also aware that the end results of those policies was disastrous.
Under the previous government, a farmer who cultivated 100 hectares of cocoa farm was entitled to 750 bags, that is 7.5 bags of granular fertilizer per hectare. With a directive, a cocoa farmer is expected to pay 60,000 Ghana cedis for the same 750 bags of fertilizer.
Even though the fertilizer is a concern, I think that we don't have to behave as though it is the only factor determining the production of cocoa. The recent encroachment on cocoa farms by galamseyers, and farmers are now selling their farms to galamseyers, it must be a serious matter of concern.
Reacting to the issue, Cocoa Board, in a press release, has explained that the free fertilizer policy led to complaints of inadequate supply as well as the diversion of the inputs. Thus, the reason for the reintroduction of the fertilizer subsidy program. The statement further added that farmers have welcomed the program.
In other stories, players in Ghana's hydrocarbon industry are calling for a one-stop shop regime for securing licenses and permits to facilitate the operations. Meanwhile, the regulator of the upstream petroleum sector says it is in advanced discussions with some government agencies to facilitate and coordinate permit issuance.
Ghana discovered hydrocarbons in commercial quantities in 2007 and started producing oil 3 years later. the country's first oil discovery, the Jubilee field was the 5th largest discovery between 2000 and 2010. Currently, Ghana has 3 producing oil fields, including Jubilee, 10 and OCTP, and 3 floating production, storage and offloading vessels. According to international oil companies operating in the country, the current status of permit issuance is nothing to write home about.
When you bring in a vessel, a supply vessel, you require permit for national security, Ghana Maritime Authority, Ghana Navy, the port's health, and all of that. I mean, it's practically impossible for you to go around all these institutions. And at some point in time, you're at a loss. Which one takes precedence over which one?
The players in the oil and gas upstream sector are calling for effective coordination of the permitting regime to ensure efficiency.
In order to reduce the time that is required to mobilize all these permits, I'm not saying we shouldn't get a permit, but we should have a mechanism where you make the application to one place and then they get all these permits for you within a short period of time.
Meanwhile, the Petroleum Commission says it is currently coordinating permits and license issuance in the country.
Companies do not have to go to immigration for permits. It is done by the Petroleum Commission. If companies are bringing in chemicals, we do the processing of the permits for them. If companies are bringing in vessels, we do the processing of that through national security for them to have.
The Commission says it is in discussions with some state agencies to ensure a one-stop shop regime for permitting in the country.
There are a couple of state institutions where this coordinating role we have challenges with, and we are still dialoguing with them so that we will be a complete one-stop shop.
That's all for the business news. My name is Pa Kwesiasari.
I just got an HD combo decoder from StarTimes.
Cool. StarTimes HD combo decoder.
StarTimes is giving away free decoders to all new subscribers. Simply prepay 2-month Super Bouquet subscription and get an HD combo decoder for free. Get yours now at all StarTimes dealer shops and enjoy the best entertainment from over 100 international and local channels. StarTimes, change your...
A news anchor with style
and professionalism
must be someone you can trust, someone you can relate to,
someone you can bond with,
and with real experience.
That is who we are.
That is who we are.
That's who we are. That's who we are.
According to them, this is the second time that this has happened to people who live here. But for how long can they continue to endure flooding in these areas?
To make sure that Accra becomes the cleanest city.
Trials on idea and then, of course, attack on public officers. I have no idea as to what
we get it to you first. This is TV3 News.
There are lots of amazing stories out there. What we do on News 360 is to bring to you the most compelling news by teasing out the right pieces that bring the stories to life. My job is to present to you the news in the most gripping manner and asking the critical questions that bring out the needed detail out of the stories. My name is Alfred Okanse. Join me on News 360, Monday through to Friday, 7 p.m. on air and online only on TV3.
Hi, good afternoon. It's time to bring you all the latest in the world of sports with me, Thierry Nyan, here on TV3's Midday Live. Now, are you one of those thinking there's division in the Black Stars? Well, sorry to burst your bubble, because Emmanuel Ajambedu says there is no leadership crisis in the team and reckons reports of a rift between Captain Asamoah Gyan and his deputy, Andrea Yu, have been exaggerated.
Bedu was dropped from the recent 5-0 Nations Cup qualifier against Ethiopia, which was overshadowed by a customized Gyan armband that has reopened the debate about captaincy and leadership in the Black Star squad all over again. Udinese midfielder, who has amassed 76 caps, knows the team dynamics well and reckons the issues have been mixed up.
There's the perception out there. I have been in the team for the past 9 years. I've worked with everyone, and I haven't seen anything. Andre came out and denied, Asamoah denied. I don't need to be a friend to work on the field. I have my friends out of football. If on the field I'm working with workers or I'm working with review, I have to work with them for the nation to succeed. But after football, I have my friends who I chill with. The most important, are they working very well? Are we getting the good results we need on the field? Since I have been there working with both of them, they are working like a team.
Bedu said watching the Ethiopia game from home was not what he wanted, but says he was impressed with the quality of the new players on show. It has also left him in no doubt the amount of work he needs to do to get back in.
I know what I have gained from the national team now, what the nation has done for me in my career as well. If I haven't got a call-up, that's normal. The most important is those who got the call-up managed to make the nation proud, and I was very proud of their performance against Ethiopia in Kumasi. It's a national team, so everybody deserves a chance. It's a good opportunity for the young ones to come in and to do well for the nation. And whenever I also get a chance to be called back to the team, I have to prove to the coach.
All right, now, midfielder Thomas Partey has become the latest high-profile name to be denied permission by his club side to take part in Ghana's tour of the United States of America. The Atletico Madrid man has told the Ghana Football Association he is unable to travel with the team for games against Mexico and the USA over the next 10 days because it does not fall within the mandatory international match window. He also says his club wants him back at base as soon as possible. His withdrawal follows the decision by the Ayew brothers to skip the game, citing the objection of their Premier League clubs and a similar action by Daniel Amate of Leicester City. Meanwhile, coach Kwesi Appiah is expected to prune down his squad for the trip with local stars Daniel Dakwa, Kotoko goalkeeper Felix Annan and the Kop Kum defender Samuel Safo. The trio expected to miss out. Now, one man definitely making the trip is striker Majid Warez, and he is looking forward to a very good tour.
Training has been very intense. You see, everyone is giving 100%, and then some people might say the game is not very important, but for me, for the team, the game is always important. And then this is for national, this is like international duty, so everyone has to give 100%. So everyone is ready. What I know as a player, every game is important. As long as you are getting ready and then like you are wearing the Black Star jersey, I would say, and even if it's your club, the game is very important for you personally and then for the nation. This is the game, and then we have to have like a winning mentality, and then we are going to win.
Now, Ghana defender Samuel Nkum has been handed a 1-year ban from all football-related activities by FIFA for failing to settle the total outstanding amount owed to his former agent, Andy Evans. Following a contractual dispute between both parties, the 28-year-old, who currently represents Bulgarian side FC Varela, was ordered by the Bureau of the Player Status Committee on March 19, 2014 to pay an amount owed to Evans. Now, the decision was taken on the basis of the FIFA Players Agents regulations in force at the time. That was way back in 2008. The Bulgarian Football Union has been requested to implement the ban. Nkum has capped 46 times for the Black Stars, scoring 1 goal. Now away from that, let's go straight to England because Liverpool fans can be excited. Why? They confirmed the signing of Egyptian winger Mohamed Salah for £34.29 million, and all the stats suggest he will be an incredible player for his new side. The former Chelsea winger has blossomed for Roma and was last season's best chance creator for Roma in the Italian Serie A. His 29 goals in 65 games makes him an enviable asset for Liverpool in a tough Premier League. He's also registered 17 assists for the Italian capital club. And that's exactly where we bring an end to the sports bulletin right here on Midday Live. My name is Theo Winyan. We'll bring you some more sports news later on News 360. As it stands now, Asiedu-Dartey is bringing you some international news.
Thank you very much, Theo Winyan, with the latest in the world of sports. Time now for international news. 4 Gulf Arab states boycotting Qatar over alleged support for terrorism have handed a list of demands including the closure of Al Jazeera TV and reducing ties with Iran. The 4 countries, Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Bahrain and Egypt, indicate Doha's acceptance of the list of 13 demands will help end the country's isolation. Reuters news agency quotes the demands to include the closure of a Turkish military base in Qatar. Qatar has denied the accusations. President Magufuli of Tanzania says girls who get pregnant while in school will not be accepted into the classroom after giving birth. Addressing a rally in the town of Chalice, President Magufuli remarked, quote, "I am giving out free education for students who have really decided to go and study, and now you want me to educate the parents," unquote. Adding that after calculating some few mathematics, she would be asking the teacher in the classroom, "Let me go out and breastfeed my crying baby," unquote. Okay, so that's it for international news. Time now for entertainment news. In entertainment news this afternoon, reigning artist of the year Joe Mettle says he will record his next album live at his upcoming concert. He believes that it will give him more audience, and the audience appeal will be part of the ambience needed for such a great show.
VGMA Artist of the Year will record his 4th album on Sunday during his Praise Reloaded concert. The Akochem Name hitmaker believes although it will be his 3rd live recording of an album, it will take a different twist from previous ones.
We're capturing the atmosphere. It's not the same. All the people coming there, the children of God, everything. That atmosphere that breaks out in the room of worship is what we're capturing on the tape. It's not the same as doing it in the studio. There are less people there.
Talking about why he had been laid back after beating the likes of Sarkodie, EL and Stoneboy to win the 2017 Artist of the Year, Joe Mettle said he and his team are taking their time to produce quality music. He emphasized he was not in a rush, neither is he under pressure to do anything that will damage his brand or career. About the concert, the gospel music star said it will be another platform to spread the gospel and touch lives through Christ.
I don't want them to look at it from just a music point, but they should look at it from a godly point, a point that, you know, God is going to affect their lives. I'm just a man, but it's the God that uses me to be a blessing to the people. He's the one I'm inviting you to come and meet.
The 2017 edition of the annual event is scheduled for Sunday, May 25 in Accra, and will feature other artists like Ohima Mercy, Akese Brimpong, and a host of others.
And on those holy sounds, we bring the bulletin to a close. That's it. My name is Asiedu-Dartey. Thank you very much for watching. There is more news on our website, 3news.com. Do have a good afternoon, and as always, stay positive. Bye for now.